Yo, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name's Jody Sedrick, as you know, and every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And I tell you, the last couple of weeks have been absolutely amazing as I have watched the creative snippets of my son, who is my guest today, Devon. And he has been working on a work of the heart, right? A love letter to those individuals who have struggled with and continue to fight with some suicidal ideations, some really dark challenges emotionally in their life. And I've just really enjoyed watching him bring together his music, his lyrics, and his video to bring such a powerful and needed message of love to not only those that are struggling with these suicidal ideations, but also those around them, because all of us are affected. So, welcome, Devin. I'm super excited to have you as my guest. So,
Sweet. Well, I'm excited to be here. Sorry if I make any weird faces. I just got stung by a stingray. I just told you, but I literally
that's
just got
so
out of the water and
crazy.
my foot is in a pot of boiling water trying to get the poison out, and my leg is slowly turning red, but it's all good. So, so if I make any weird faces, that's why, and also that's why I look busted in general. But we're here, so.
So those of you who don't know, my oldest son Devin lives in Marina Del Rey. He and his partner Matt live on a beautiful sailboat, and they spend a lot of time in the water, under the water, on the water, any moment that they can be on the water. So that's why he got stung by a stingray. That's
my
crazy.
my whole life is on the water, and I usually surf like every morning, and I've surfed pretty much 5 days a week for almost 4 years, and I've never. This is the first time I got stung by a ray, so
That's
it's
pretty
gotta
good
happen.
odds. That's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's
I'm in there
pretty
all the
good
time,
odds.
so.
So that's super fun. Well, let's talk about your project. And before we jump into your project, I actually wanted to share with you guys a snippet that he has prepared on Instagram Reels and TikTok, and it's all over the place. So to give you an idea of his music and the message that he's bringing of love and support, I thought we'd play his video. So let me play this little video clip, and then we will talk about it. So.
I like feeling homesick when it's colored by you. Everything that's fast is the deepest color blue. You can't live for the future if the future's killing you. Only thing certain is death will come for you. I know that life ain't easy unless you are sleazy. If you stay with Devin, we can turn it into heaven. I need you by my side in this crazy life. I know it's not the kind, but you're my ride or die. I need you, it's the truth. I know it's rude, but I need you.
Dude, every time I watch that, I start tearing up because I love the message of I know it's dark, I know it's tough, but I need you, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it fun and happy, but I'm also going to be with you to walk through the dark moments. So let's, why don't you just tell us about the idea behind your song and what you are hoping to accomplish with what you've
Um,
created?
well, I think it's like um, I think people are taking it like everyone who's messaging about it has taken it like a lot deeper than I initially like meant it. I mean, I did mean it to be like it was when I was originally writing it. Like, it didn't have the name for the song. Zane actually helped me come up with the name for the song when I told him like why I wrote it. He's like, "Oh, you should just." I was like, "Oh, I kind of wrote the song pretty much as like a letter to all of my like my myriad of suicidal friends, and he's like, "Oh, you should just call it that." But yeah, I think it was also not originally written. It was written for my friends who were like suicidal, but it was also kind of written for the people who are like not experiencing suicide, because for the most part, like, I think I have a pretty different like view on, or I don't know, I think our society has like a pretty harsh view on like suicide and what that means. And on the very extreme end, like some people are like, think that you're a bad person if you decide to commit suicide. Or I've heard people say like, well, people who commit suicide are going to hell, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I don't necessarily think that suicide is the issue. I think it's everything that leads up to it. And suicide is just people's answer sometimes to when like life is just too difficult. And people who don't understand that probably have never experienced what it feels like, where that's like your only out and life is so hard. So that, I think that the most important lyric to me in it is where it says, "I know it's rude," or I forgot what it
Because
comes
I
before. But
need you, it's the truth. I know it's rude, but I need you.
yeah, and the whole point is that like the song, it's not really for. I mean, it is for you. Like, I want you to like. I want to make it as fun as possible, but also like I need everyone to know that my desire to keep you here is not necessarily for you. Like, it may be easier for you to leave. Like, it may be easier for you to not be dealing with all this bullshit anymore, but like I want you here because I selfishly want you here, not because like it's going to make life easier. I can't promise that like life is going to be all like butterflies and rainbows and everything, but like life freaking sucks sometimes. And life sucks for you, and life also sucks for me. And because life sucks for me, I would much rather have you here with me, like suffering along with me, because I like having your presence here. So I think that's kind of the most important thing for me. I like really wanted, I was kind of nervous about putting out the song because I don't want the message to be like, I don't want, you shouldn't kill yourself, because that's not the message. Like, the message is supposed to be like, life really freaking sucks sometimes. It's hard. I totally get it. I'm not going to judge you one way or another, but like I just really appreciate I appreciate your presence here in my life. And that's totally selfish. That has nothing to do with like, I just want you here because I just want you here. And I think sometimes too, like when people are having a lot of like suicidal ideation and stuff, it's like we have a tendency to like want to fix things and want to be like, what can I do? What can I like? How can I make this better? And even sometimes like I just need you to know that I love you so much. Like, I want you to know that I love you. And people who are experiencing suicidal ideation like probably already know that they're loved. So sometimes that's not always like always that helpful, but it's just like, but I think what is helpful is just a lot of times it's just like, yeah, life just sucks. And we're going through a lot of hard things. There's a lot of, it's just always going to be a struggle. But
Yeah,
if we
I
stick
really,
together, we can try to make it as best as possible.
and I really love that message because the thing that I've learned as we have dealt with attempted suicide and my uncle committed suicide when I was a young kid, the one thing that I've learned through the process, especially working with 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 Cynthia and with other people, not just her, that it's not that they necessarily want to die. It's just that the pain is so raw and it is so dark, and they're just not sure how to move through this moment in their life. And a lot of times we're clinging, like you said, out of our selfish desire to make them feel loved. And it's both ways, right? It's in part it's selfish because we want to keep them close, but we're also trying to show them that we love them. And I think sometimes we don't exactly have the words to say that bring hope, that bring relief. And sometimes the greatest thing that you can offer is just being present. And I think that's one of the things that I like about your
Mhm.
30-second videos. Like, look, I know it's tough, but while it's tough, I'm going to do my part to make you feel more than anything loved.
Yeah, and I think like it just yeah, like want we want people to like, I don't know, so much like selfishness comes out about like suicide because it does like becomes like a reflection of ourselves. And like when we hear that somebody's going through a hard time, like we always want to try to like fix it and to, like try to make things better and try like what can I do, and all that stuff is like good and fine, but like a lot of it comes from like our inability to sit with somebody else's pain. Like, and I think most of the time you just have to like, nobody needs you to like fix their problems, and there's usually not much that you can fix, but like we just have such an inability to like sit with somebody's pain and just be like, man, that sucks, and then that's it, and just like sit with somebody. We want to be like, oh, what can I do, what can I like change, how can I make this better, how can I make you happy, how can I make, and sometimes people just need to be sad, and sometimes like we just need to be able to like sit with somebody while they're sad. And I think especially in America we have such a hard time with our like whole array of emotions. We like have such a focus on like hyper positivity, and sometimes people are just meant to be sad. Like most people's lives are very sad, like, and you have a lot of like sad things that happen in your life that are going to make you sad later on, and we have like such a hard time with that. Like we can't sit with it in ourselves, and we can't sit with it in somebody else. And somebody else said that depression is just the belief that you're sadder than you should be. And I really think
Mm.
that in a large part is true, because people get depressed, but it's like people's depression, the opposite of depression is expression. And so when people can't express themselves, like they can't express their sadness or their anger, it gets stuck. And then you get like this in this sadness vortex of this loophole, but it's because you're not even able to like admit and acknowledge the fact that you're just sad. And like it's okay to be sad, but we always try to like either fix it in ourselves or fix it in somebody else. And that's where like depression comes in. And it's just like, it's so sad because like you're just as sad as you should be. And that's why I have like a hard time a lot of times with like, depression is a very real thing. Depression is when you like, you're so depressed you can't want for the things and express like your own desires for like the basic needs. You're so depressed and unable to express your sadness, your need for water. You can't like, so you're depressed and you can't like express any of those desires. And it's just so sad because I don't know, because people's lives are just sad, and it's just, life sucks. Like, but it's okay, because I think once we like acknowledge those things, like the other thing about like humans is that we believe that however we feel right now, we're going to feel forever. And it's just not true. But when you like stop yourself from feeling something, it gets stuck, and then you do feel it for longer than you should.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess that's mostly it. It's just like you're as sad as you are is as sad as you're supposed to be, and it's okay. And I just want people to know that I'm like willing to like sit with them in their sadness. And
Yeah,
I don't know, I feel for you. It hurts.
there's two things that I really like about what you've shared is that, you know what, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to go, you know what, right now my life really sucks. But I think
Hmm.
the challenge is that we haven't been taught, especially as men, how to embrace those feelings and go, you know, these are very real. And more importantly, we haven't been taught how to navigate those feelings in any kind of way, let alone productive, right? And a lot of men really
Yeah,
struggle because they carry so much hurt and anger and disappointment in their heart because they haven't been taught how to let it out, how to express
totally.
it,
Yeah.
right? So they're walking depressed. They're walking
Hmm.
alone. They're walking with the weight of their shoulders, or what they think is the weight of the world on their shoulders. And when in reality, it's something, some other man right down the road is probably feeling the exact same way. He's just been able to navigate it differently than you. And I said differently because I think a lot of times we have this, well, I'm doing it better because I'm healthy and I'm positive. Well, maybe not so. Maybe you're just putting on a face. You're putting on a front. You're not really dealing with the real issue.
Yeah, and most people who are like happy all the time and really fun. I mean, you think about people like Robin Williams and stuff who like put on this like, or he knew so well how depression felt that he was always like putting on this thing to make other people happier, but he wasn't always maybe not able to like express like how like sad and hurt he was. And I think that like navigating is like one thing that I think eventually comes naturally. I think I don't think we always have to learn how to navigate our emotions. Because I think our emotions sometimes take us on a ride. We just have to learn how to express our emotions. And there's just, especially with men, they like don't know how to. Men have a harder time expressing like sadness. Um, I think we like get a lot of like leeway in like expressing anger. Women may not be able to like express anger as much in our society. Um, but even with anger, like I was talking to one of my friends when I could tell that I had like a lot of anger and resentment built up in me, and I could tell it was firing off in like directions where it was not, where it was like very misplaced. I was being very angry in places where I was like, this is not what's causing me anger, but this is like where I'm expressing it. And my friend, she asked me, she was like, well, how are you expressing your anger? And like how, and I, when she asked me, I like had literally no idea. Like I just, like, how do you express your sadness? Or how do you express your anger? And I was like, I actually have never, our society has always taught me that anger is like, or at least that's what I picked up. I always picked up that anger was an emotion that you didn't want to express because it could be harmful to other people. It could be, you could hurt other people. So I always try to like keep it in, but then I had no way of like getting it out. And when she asked me the question, I didn't even have a starting point to know where to start, to like, how do I tell somebody that I'm angry with them? Like, is that allowed? Or am I allowed to be like, I don't like that, And it's taken me like a few years, but now I'm like starting to kind of sort out like how I can express these things and how I can, and then I think once you express it, it kind of like flows through you, and you just have to get it out. But otherwise, like all these emotions get like stuck up in you, and then they come out in weird ways that are not good.
Yeah, yeah. Just a couple weeks ago, I was talking to my brother who's going through a divorce, and he was talking about how especially his daughters, are really struggling with the separation of him and his wife. And he said, you know, a lot of times she, and in particular one of them, is just lashing out at me. And I said, you gotta recognize that she's lashing out for two reasons. One, she needs to let it out. She's trying to express what's in her heart, but she's lashing out in particular at you because she feels safe with you.
Yeah.
She knows that you're going to be there. And I think that's, you know, I never really talked about that until I verbalized it. It's like, I, you know, sometimes we have these feelings and we're lashing out, but we tend to lash out in places where we feel safer than others. And we're just trying to get this toxic pus out of our heart that's cankering our heart. And we're looking for some way to, and someone with whom we can be, express it in a spirit of love and safety so that we can work through our pain.
And I mean, I don't have any kids, obviously, but I think that's probably like the brunt of being a parent is that you're supposed to like provide an environment for a developing human to like learn how to express their emotions. And because you're the safe space, like you're going to be the one that they express all the emotions to, which is like a lot for parents to carry, I think. And because parents don't want to see their kids sad, they don't want to see their kids like angry. And I'm it's hard for me to like speak on what it's like to be a parent or even what parents should do because I don't really know. I mean, I don't think anyone really knows. Um, but like also like I would I think that like providing a safe place for kids to express those kind of emotions without trying to fix the emotion or without trying to change the emotion or like make them happy or like alter it in some way, like it's just like, yeah, that's sucks. And I get that you're mad right now because there's a lot of like turmoil in your life and a lot of big changes, especially with the divorce. It's like, and a lot of things are uncertain and you're having like a lot of big feelings and it sucks. And like, that's it. Like, you don't like necessarily like, we'll get to the part where we're like, I mean, it's like if you've ever had like a big cry, you know, like you don't need to try to make yourself stop having the big cry so you can get to the relief. You need to just cry it out. You just need to like let the ugly tears come where you can barely breathe and you shouldn't try to fix that. That's like your body knows how to express things naturally. So just like let it express it and then after you've had your big cry, you're like, oh God, okay, we're done. You know, and then you don't have like anything to cry about, at least for that moment. And then you can move on with your life. But if you stop it, then you just can't move on because you never express it. And the opposite of expression is depression. And then you're like really in trouble because then it just builds up and it either comes out in weird ways or it doesn't come out and then it comes out in some kind of like illness.
Yeah, and you know, I'm thinking about something else that you said, is that I think a lot of times we get trapped into the feeling of, this is how I feel today and this moment is never going to end. I can't see any way around it. And I was flipping through TikTok actually yesterday and I came across this TikTok channel, and I forget the guy's name. I wish I would have taken note of it, but I'll try to find it and put it in the show notes. But he, in his TikTok, he was showing, he goes, look, he goes, it was 4 years ago that I was standing at this very ledge. And he shares how 4 years ago he was standing on this ledge with the determination that he was going to jump. And he said, as I sat on this ledge, I went over to this rock and I sat on this rock and I'm thinking about everything that's going wrong in my life, and I'm trying to get the courage to just jump. And then finally, I got the courage and I stepped up to the ledge. And he goes, at the moment that I was about to jump, a lady grabbed my arm and she said, "Would you mind taking a picture of me and my daughter?" And he looked at her kind of surprised and said, "Absolutely." And he took the photo of her and her daughter, and then they walked away, and he stepped away from the ledge and went home. And he said, it was such a powerful moment for me because I had committed that I was done. And it wasn't until someone reached out to me in a very physical way that I stepped away from the ledge and began the healing process. And he goes, "It's been a 4-year journey. And it hasn't always been easy. A lot of times it's been very dark, and I've kind of stepped back and I've moved forward, right?" And he goes, "I guess the thing that I have to share with you is that how you feel today, you're going to move through it. And it's tough to move through it, but I can promise you that it will get better." And I guess that's the hard part for people that are struggling with these suicidal ideations, of being able to get it out of their, to embrace it, to feel it, to go, "Man, this really sucks." And it's not always going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's any magic formula. There's no magic time frame. There's no magic pill that gets you from this point to this point. And I think the one thing is that we just need to be kinder and gentler and more empathetic of people, and go, because you don't know the silent battles that they're struggling with. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
that it took them every ounce of courage to just roll out of bed and step out the door. That may be a huge triumph. And I think if we understood, if we had a lens into the private battles that people are waging every single day, we would be a lot more gracious and tender and loving with those individuals, with all of us.
Yeah. And I think that really starts with just, we have to really reframe our beliefs about how people should be. And we have like such strict ideas in our culture about like what we should do and how like productive you need to be and how much you need to gain in this life and how much like, and that rolling, if you don't get out of bed at a certain time, you're lazy and all these things. And we're like constantly having all these judgments about how people are and what they're doing. And it's just like none of that stuff matters. And we're like putting all this weight on people that like none of it matters, like why do people need to, like, if you want to have a successful business that you run on your own, like, and that's something you want to do, great, but like it's not for everyone, if you want to, like, I don't know, I wish that we could also just like let people live sometimes, and there's not really much you need to gain in this life, even though everything in life is going to tell you that there is something you need to gain. You need to get the bag. You need to get this. You need to get a girlfriend. You need to get a boyfriend. You need to get married. You need to get, and it's like all this, none of this matters. And I guess that's the other part of the song too, is like, it's like we're all going to die. None of this matters. I mean, it does in some, but like it doesn't. All the stuff that we think matters, none of that matters. Like, and it's just, I don't know, it's such a weird game that we're like playing with ourselves, and yeah, I don't think it's always helpful. So but yeah, that's like, we're all gonna die, and whether your time is now because you just can't take it or it's later, like, let's just make the most of the time that we have with each other. And that really comes from like connecting with people, not trying to like obtain things and obtain position, obtain like, I don't know, whatever it is. It's just not, it's not necessary, because in the end it doesn't matter. Like, we're all gonna be dead, we're all gonna be in the dirt. And
Yeah, I love
like,
your
it doesn't like,
I love your lyrics. You can't live in the future when the future's killing you. I think a lot of times we're so driven by what we're achieving, the goal down the road, right? And that pursuit of what's down the road is prohibiting you from enjoying the very moment. And sometimes we just need to be present with each other.
pretty much all the time, you know. It's just like, and I feel like after a lot of my conversations with my people who, or my friends who are having like suicidal thoughts, like a lot of it is so much worry about like the future or what they're gonna do. And it's like, and I was talking to one person in particular who was like really considering killing themselves, and had like really thought it out and kind of like come up with a plan. But then they were like, and I would be like, oh, well, why don't you just like come hang out on the boat for a while, like come to LA, like let's just hang out for a while. And they're like, well, I can't leave my job, yada yada. I'm like, okay, you were gonna kill yourself yesterday, you're gonna ditch your job yesterday, so just ditch it now and come hang out. Like, you're living for this job that's literally killing you because you hate it, but you can't let it go to come hang out with me, but you can let it go and kill yourself. So like, if you're gonna kill yourself, like, or if that's the option, like, do everything else in the before, and then you can like reconsider it, but like get it all out. But like, everyone's still like, well, I can't because I have my job and I have, you were just about to like give up on all that stuff like literally 2 minutes ago. So give up on it now while you're still alive. Go live your life. And then if you can find some glimmer of hope that's worth living, go do that. And there's this woman that I follow on YouTube who like, she talks a lot about business and spiritual teachings and stuff. And she had someone close to her, or like her fiance died, and she talks about how she was really suicidal and she was going to kill herself. But before she killed herself, she decided that she was going to get a bunch of credit cards, max out all of her credit cards, go like live her life, and then she would kill herself after. And I thought that was such a good bit of advice, because you're ready to like throw everything away. So like, who cares about your credit? Like, if you're gonna throw everything else away anyways, like, throw your credit out the window first. Go do everything that you want. Take that trip to Thailand, do whatever you need. And then if in that course of however many months it takes you to max out all your credit cards, you find something that's worth living for, then you found something worth living for, and you can move from there. But like, people get so stuck in this, like, in these worlds and lives that they hate, and they're not willing to like change anything. And I was like, I don't know. So I just thought that was such a good piece of advice. Like, so if you are gonna kill yourself, or if you're thinking about it, go get some credit cards first. Go spend all the money. Do everything that you want to do. Go, if you've ever thought about like skydiving or scuba diving, go do that. And then you can kill yourself after, if you still want to. But like, go blow out some credit cards first. Like, you know, like, and I feel like so many people just like aren't living either, and they don't know how to I don't know. They don't even know what they want. They're like, we're so taught how to do the things that we're supposed to do. We're so taught, like, you're supposed to go to school, and then you're supposed to do this, and then you're supposed to get a job, that you don't even know what you want. So, and that's a big part of like where people are depressed, is because they can't even like express what they want. They don't even know what they want. And so it's hard. Like, why would you want to live if you're not able to like get the things or do the things that you want, even though that they're available to you? So I don't know. It's bad financial advice, but go get credit cards and go do something crazy.
You know, it's horrible financial advice, but it's great life advice.
If
Because
you're gonna be dead, you guys ain't taking your finances to the grave. So it doesn't matter if it's
but
bad financial advice.
no,
You're gonna die. Like, you're thinking about it already. So
yeah, but and I no, I'm with you on that. But I guess my point is like there's so many things that we don't do because we say we don't have the money or we don't have the time or I can't get time off. And if you were to do what you recommended, you would live life. And I guess that's one of the things that I've always really appreciated about you is being willing to take the risk. You know, I think back, you know, when you were at in college and you came to me and you were 3 years into college and you're like, Dad, I'm thinking about going and backpack in Europe. And my first thought was like, you have a year left of school, right? But then I'm like, well, you know what? How often are you 23 or 24 and get to go backpack Europe? Go do it. And when you get back, you can go back to school. You can go do these. And I think we as dads sometimes squash our kids' dreams and their visions of what could be because we expect them to do certain things and to finish this course of action instead of just living life. And I think about the myriad of experiences that you had because I wasn't, at least I hope, that I wasn't a wall to that. And you had the courage to go and pursue that. And it created amazing opportunities for you. And I think a lot of times we just need to take the leap and go, you know what? I'm going to go live. I'm going to go do this dream.
yeah, I mean, I think one good, really good thing that I got out of like my childhood, and that you and Mom had like the means and ability and like just the wherewithal to like kind of let me do whatever I wanted to do or whatever I was interested in. And for whatever reason, like the world was very accepting when I said that I wanted to work at this animal refuge at 8 years old. They just let me work there. Or I wanted to shadow like a veterinarian, and they just let me come every Tuesday and Thursday. And I wanted to do gymnastics, so I was able to like do gymnastics. And then I wanted to sing in a choir, so then I stopped being homeschooled and went to school. And I had such there was just so much like experience built up where if I wanted something, like I was shown that I was able to do it. And I think just having that like built up like experience of being like, I want this, and you guys turning and be like, okay, like how can we make that happen? It really set me up for like when I was like, okay, I want to go to Europe, and then how can I make this happen? And I believed that I could make all the things happen that I wanted to happen. And it may not happen the way that I like imagined it, you know, and I may have to like do like make it work, you know, but I really believe that whatever I wanted, I could just do. And I don't think a lot of people get that experience of like knowing what they want and feeling like supported in that, whatever it is, like however crazy or nonsensical. And I think the other funny thing too, looking back, is that when I was doing all those things, like working at the veterinarian and stuff, like I think a lot of people supported me because they're like, oh, you're gonna be a vet when you're older, and you're gonna like, so it's gonna help you in your career. I never went down that path. Every path that I've gone down, I've decided to change. I studied like psychology and education, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's so good. Like, you don't actually know what you're gonna do. And it doesn't need to be like, it doesn't need to be for an end goal. Like, I didn't, just because I wasn't going to be a veterinarian doesn't mean that I shouldn't have spent those 4 years shadowing. Like, and there doesn't need to be a lot of pressure on like, well, you did this for 4 years, of course you should like continue to go to vet school. Like, why? You know, if I'm not interested in it anymore, or I don't want to do it, or now I'm interested in psychology, like, we live in a time where we have the capability to go do those things and like totally take a 180-degree turn. So why not? You know? But there's like so much pressure on like, oh, like, oh, okay, you're doing like, you're really interested in animals. Like, okay, this is gonna help you get to this, and like, yes, maybe in the moment that's like exciting for me, but as long as I'm able to like relinquish that when it's no longer interesting, like that, there has to be like that room to just be like, okay, well, that was fun, and then like moving on to the next thing, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm super proud of you. I'm super. It's so fun to watch you explore and try and test the waters on different ideas, and I think it's really brought out your creativity and your openness and love for people, because it's put you in positions where you've been exposed to so many different people and cultures, and it's really given you appreciation. And I think ultimately, we all need to develop a little bit more appreciation and love for each other, and be
Mm-hmm.
willing to walk through those dark moments with each other. And sometimes you just need to be there. You don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to give any advice, you just need to be there. And
Yeah, I think about like the story that you just shared with the guy who's gonna jump off the bridge and the lady who like took the asked him to take the picture. Like, I think a lot of times when people are having suicidal ideation, like I've talked to my friends who have other friends who are going through or having a lot of suicidal thoughts, and they're like, I just don't know what to say. And that lady had no idea what to say. She didn't say anything profound. She didn't say anything like earth shattering about like how meaningful life is and how like important it is that you're here and blah 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 blah. Like, she just asked him to take a picture, but she connected with him on like a real level. And I think people have such a hard, I think a lot of times when people are having a lot of suicidal thoughts, they feel really disconnected. And I think when you try to fix them or change something or give them advice, it makes people feel less connected. And I think the best thing you can do is just connect with people on a very real level. And sometimes that's very tangible. It's just like, I'm connecting with you, like asking you to take this picture, or I'll send you like a funny meme that like, or something like that. It doesn't have to be profound, because people are always like, I know this person's going through a lot of suicidal thoughts. I feel like I should reach out to them. I don't know what to say to make them feel better, but I also don't want to ask them like, oh, like, how are those suicidal thoughts going on? Blah blah blah. Like, you can just send them a meme, or you could just send them like a picture that you guys took and be like, oh, remember this trip that we did? Like, something that actually connects you, and that's it. And I think because I have like a very like candid like approach to suicide, I think a lot of times like I have built up a rapport where I can be like, yo, what's those, how are those suicidal thoughts going on? You know, and I can ask people very directly, because people know that I don't care that much. Like, I'm not, if you do decide to kill yourself, like, I will really miss you, but I'm not like life just sucks sometimes, and I'm really sorry that like it got to that point, and that I'm really sorry that it was that hard, and that's it, you know. But and I think because of that, like I can talk like me and a lot of my friends have like really dark jokes about their suicide or how their attempts or whatever. But it's just like, but it can be kind of like blasé and be like, oh, like how are those going now? And like, oh, trying to kill yourself again, you know. And I don't think everyone should have that like approach, and because it is in a lot of ways like serious, you know, like we want to make sure that we're taking care of people, but I think we can take care of people the best by just like showing up for them and just showing up with zero expectations and just being like, you know what, like I love you, I see you, I know this is hard. What do you want to do today? You know?
I love that. Well, thank you so much for giving, having such a meaningful and in-depth conversation with me. How do people find your song? I mean, because it is absolutely amazing. And I actually think you have a companion song that goes with it, right? Love Gun?
Oh yeah, those are kind of, I
Yeah.
think like a lot of my songs that I wrote last year have little hints of
Yeah.
suicide all throughout them, but you can't talk about on Instagram apparently. But that's why you'll see in all my Instagram posts the U is a V, was
Yeah.
because they're trying to shadow ban me. But you can find all my music at Devon Michael Sedrick on Spotify, Apple Music. You can find me on Instagram at Devon Michael Sedrick. I might be changing my musician name or my artist name, but we'll see if that happens in the future. I'm still kind of like working the kinks out. So,
you can tell us when that happens. So
yeah, exactly. We'll see. I don't know. It's still an idea. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in every week. Please go out, like, share, and subscribe. Please share this episode. I think it's so important. I'm also going to put in the show notes links to 6 other episodes where I've talked about my personal experience with suicide, where I've interviewed other people that have had challenges. It's such an important topic. And ultimately, we just need to walk with each other. So, in that spirit, we're going to close out with that opening clip. And you guys.
oh, wait. And
Yes.
one other thing, I have no doubt if you can put in the show notes, I'll send you a link. There is, if you are experiencing suicidal ideation or thoughts, you can always hit me up and just let me know. But there's also, whenever I used to work festivals, there's a really great organization called To Write Love on Our Arms. And it started off as a book, but their website has a ton of resources to help you get connected with a counselor, or if you need financial assistance to like talk to a counselor, hotlines. It has like everything there. So I'll send it to you, and if you could link them in the show notes,
will do.
And I know sometimes when you are in the trenches of depression, even looking someone up can be difficult. So you can just hit me up, and I will find the person for you wherever you're located, and we can get you guys connected. So, but that's like a really great resource for anyone who's experiencing it and anyone who needs to help somebody else.
Yep. And you can always reach out to me. I've had some great conversations with men who have been struggling with themselves. And we've had some great in-depth conversations, and I've become friends with them. So thank you so much, Devon. I will share that in the show notes, and we're going to say goodbye with his song. So see ya.
I like feeling homesick when it's colored by you. Everything that's vast is the deepest color blue. You can't live for the future if the future's killing you. Only thing that's certain is death will come for you. I know that life ain't easy unless you are sleazy. If you stay with Devon, we can turn it into heaven. I need you by my side in this crazy life. I know it's not the kind, but you're my ride or die. I need you It's the truth. I know it's rude, but I need you.